Thank you so much, Shine Nessy. Thank you for that nice introduction. First of all, a very warm good evening to each and every one of you gathered over here. Most of you might not know me. My name is Nessy Thadathil. I'm actually the wife of Mr. Francis Thadathil. And today, I'm extremely honored and privileged to introduce the Women's Day theme of 2022. First of all, let me ask with you, which day is celebrated as the Women's Day every year? March 8th. And which month is known as the Women's History Month? Which month is known as the Women's History Month? March is known as the Women's History Month. And which are the specific colors of Women's Day?
Purple.
Purple,
Pink,
green and white. And purple indicates justice and dignity. And green stands for hope. And white is standing for purity. And you all know that. What is the significance of Women's Day? Dr. Annie Paul has already mentioned the significance of Women's Day. What is the significance? To recognize the women, recognize their achievements. It could be in the social field, political, intellectual, and any other extraordinary activities, even cultural and the artistic talents or levels, or in all the fields. On Women's Day, we acknowledge the achievements of women. And you might have already heard what is the Women's Day theme of 2022.
break the bias.
Break the bias. The International Women's Day website says, deliberate or unconscious bias makes it difficult for women to go forward. Knowing that the bias exists is not enough. Action is needed to level the playing field. This is what the International Women's Day website says. We already know that most of us actually have come from India, migrated from India, and we know that today we are so fortunate and lucky to live in this type of the world because we have so much freedom. Women have so much freedom. Mr. Francis Thadathil has already mentioned, women have so much freedom, women have so much empowerment, and women have so much strength in this world, in United States. But we know the situation in India. That's not the same everywhere. It is so different in other countries. And since we have come from India, we know that the women's status is so different in the United States. We have the freedom to voice our opinion, express our attitudes, our talents and potentials. We have the freedom to advance our careers, and we have the freedom to chase our passion. We are well respected in our families, in our societies, amongst our friends, and in our community. And women are actually included in every activities, irrespective of their social, economical, political, educational backgrounds. And women have a much better and safer and healthier working environment. So how did all these things happen? This is because of the hard work of our pioneers. We already have two eminent personalities over here, Dr. Annie Paul and Dr. Leela Marriott. All these ladies have done wonderful jobs to make this happen, to bring us to this level. So I think when we are observing this Women's Day, it is imperative, it is very important and very significant to look back and see what has happened, what is their struggle and how. Women's Day was always there over the last 100 years. In late 1800s and 1900s, the women activists actually fought for the right for voting and for the right for the equal pay, for the equal work. And in 1909, February 28th was marked as the Women's Day in the history of the United States. And actually the women have gone through, the women leaders or the women activists have gone through lots of struggles. And in 1970s, there is a movement called feminism came up. And the women started rallying, protesting and lobbying for the equality and for the inclusiveness and for the influence in their own fields. And we all know that the feminism have faced lots of threats and then resistance. not only from the men group, even from the women group. And then again in 1980s, actually the movement called Fixing the Women came up. That means like they wanted to change the attitude of the women in order to make the women more assertive, more confident, more visible in the public. So most of the women got benefited from that. Many women came out of their hiding places and started working in the society and in the public fields. And many women actually stood together for the women's rights and for the protection of the women. That's how it happened. And later, in 1990s, actually there was an organizational change which has happened. The organizations, different organizations, the progressive CEOs, administrators, and the progressive corporates have taken actions to include women in their corporates or women in their organizations. There was even a norm called the top company means the top women listed in the company. So they actually conducted many women conferences, many women interactive sessions, and actually you can come to the other way. Okay. Many women interactive sessions and many women conferences, and even researches have been taken place during that time about the women equality and the women empowerment, etc. And in the recent years, we started seeing that the men is actually advocating for the women empowerment and in order to get the equality of the women in the society. That's why here comes the importance of women right now, because Mr. Francis has already mentioned that here the women are actually more empowered. Why? Because we do have progressive men with us. That's the only reason why the women that you see over here are much empowered and much stronger. Otherwise, we would not have been here, and we will not be able to even say anything in the public. That's very important. So I hope if any women, any man is not not that progressive, please understand that your wives, your daughters, they have much more potentials than you think of. So please allow them to fly high. That's the thing that I want to tell to all the men gathered over here. And then now the world actually expects more inclusiveness and expects more diversity and equity. And recently we have seen these Me Too movements and Time's Up movements too. That's also very important. Because what is the significance of the Me Too movements and the Time's Up movement? What is the significance? And Time's Up. That is to protect the women against the sexual misconduct which is happening in their workplaces and in the other fields. We know that the Times of Women movement actually established on January 1st, 2018. This was actually established by more than 300 celebrities. And this is to protect the women against the sexual misconduct in their work field, and they're actually helping them in their careers and in their legal proceedings and in their further goals of their life. And Me Too movement, we don't have to explain about it. It has gained wide publicity. And then the Me Too movement, actually the women who actually had sexual misconduct in their lifetime, they will come up and express that to the public. That gave much strength to the other women and much courage to the other women. They all started coming up and started talking about it. So what difference it made? It made the women stronger, and they all stayed together to act against the sexual misconduct. When we listen to the sexual misconduct, we might think that, oh, this is nothing, this is not going to happen to me. That's not the situation. This is not happening over here. This is not happening anywhere else in the world. This is actually happening in and around us. If you know, 1 in every 5 women have had sexual misconduct in their lifetime. 83% of women had sexual misconduct in the 83% globally, women had sexual misconduct, and 43% of men. So, being women, I really call actions to identify the sexual misconduct, report the sexual misconduct, bring them under the law. And if they need help with the treatment or rehabilitation, anything, you have to start acting against that. This is a very important role of the women. Most of the time, we miss that. We will say that we have a different attitude, we came from a different place. No. If you want to live comfortably and safer in this world, every woman has to keep in mind that we really have to report against the sexual misconduct. And then now the world actually accepts differences and equality and more inclusiveness. And that's why the world actually notices if you don't have that, and world celebrates if you have all these qualities, all these things. Let us imagine a world without any sexual misconduct. Let's imagine a world free of bias and free of stereotypes and free of discrimination. Have you imagined that kind of a world? That's going to be the safer and the better place to live in, right? I think everybody is actually interested in eating. Okay. So then, let's all. What is the theme of the world? What is the theme of International Women's Day 2022? Break the bias. So we can actually do it. If you stay collectively, if you stay united, we can do that. We can break the bias in our workplace, in our community, in our families, in our educational systems, in our colleges, universities, and everywhere. So, let us actually show are you all ready to break the bias or no? Yes or no? Okay, I just want to mention one more thing. Saying united for women or supporting women does not mean that opposing men. Okay, I just want to mention that one more time. Supporting women does not mean that opposing men. Okay, don't get that misconception. Okay, all right. So if you are ready to call actions against breaking the bias, let's show the solidarity. I know that you all are eating, but let's take a moment to stand up and show our solidarity by crossing our hands. Are you all able to do that? Okay, please stand up.
Only women?
No, everyone. I said supporting women doesn't mean that opposing men. So let's show our solidarity by crossing our hands. We are making this commitment. Call actions to break the bias, smash the stereotypes, and and eradicate discrimination. Okay? Thank you all, and please sit down. So I hope with this speech, you might have understood something, and you might have get something. You might have got some wise ideas. Did you get any ideas, or was it just like saying a speech? Yes or no? Yes. And did you take really the commitment to go forward, to break the bias? Yes or no? Yes. So with this, I would like to introduce the World International Women's Day 2022 theme, Break the Bias. And the next, so thank